Ladies and gentlemen, those between and those far out, longtime viewers and newcomers alike, welcome back to the U Idaho Esports Twitch channel. My name is Kaz Phoenix, your graceful host for the Vandal pre-show. Today, I am joined by Dr. Lysa Salsbury, the Director of Strategic Operations for the Department of Student Involvement. Dr. Salsbury, welcome to the show. Welcome to the couch.
Thank you. Thank you
I
very
hope
much.
it
I'm
isn't
glad to be
comfortable.
here.
How's your day going so far?
It's going great. Yeah. I mean, apart from the snow and
a lot of snow.
Yeah, the weather's been pretty awful lately, but yeah, I've been having a great day. Thanks.
Well,
How
that
about
is
yours?
good. I can't complain. I like the snow, actually. I know it's kind of gross looking, like, on the road, but if you just don't look down, it's great. You just get to see it, like, all coming down and, like, covering the trees and stuff like that. So from that standpoint, it is pretty. And I also grew up in Southern California, so when it snows here, I appreciate it more so.
It's kind of a novelty for you. Well, I'm a big winter outdoors person, so I love the snow.
Acknowledged. I don't know why I was blanking on a response from that. But I also, I guess, talking about myself not being from Idaho, you are also not particularly from Idaho or the U.S.? Question mark?
No, I'm not. I am not from Idaho. I'm originally from England. And so I was born and grew up and did all of my schooling through the end of my undergraduate degree in England. And I moved to the U.S. right after I graduated college. Moved to southern Indiana and lived there for 7 years. And then my family and I moved to Mexico for 5 years, and we lived in Mexico.
Oh, my.
And then we came to the Palouse 20 years ago. So I kind of consider myself to be from Idaho now. When people ask me, where you're from,
I think 20 years,
Idaho's as good a place as any. Yeah.
I totally agree. And I mean, like, at that point, like, 20 years is like, you're from there at that point,
right?
It's like, I know the place like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
Have you always lived in Moscow in the Palouse, or?
Yeah. We moved to Moscow. My husband got a job at Washington State University, and so we lived in Pullman for about 3 months. But we love Moscow. We bought a home here, and been here ever since. Raised our kids here. It's great.
That's wonderful. I love when I get to hear about people who, like, move here, that, like, raise families and stuff like that. I would argue that Moscow is a very nice place to raise a family.
It is.
But I did get a little bit ahead of myself, so I apologize about that. I'd like to do what I more formally call on the show the passing of the talking stick. Allow you to introduce yourself a little bit more to our audience, talk about what you do here for the university, and anything else that our audience might like to know about you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. So I've worked at the University of Idaho for 20 years now. I started in the Women's Center and worked there up until December 2024, when unfortunately the university had to close the Women's Center to comply with state legislation. But yeah, I love that job. It was my vocation, my heart work. I loved the connection with students. I loved the social action part of it. So I miss it a lot, but I've landed in a good spot. I actually work for Student Affairs as the Director of Strategic Initiatives and Planning. And so that's a very long title and a fancy way to say that I do assessment and strategic planning, and I take care of any other kinds of projects that my boss, who is the Vice Provost for Student Affairs and the Dean of Students, Dr. Blaine Eccles, has me do. So, that includes things like, I don't know if you've heard of the Student Coach of the Game program. Yeah, so I am in charge of kind of organizing that a little bit in collaboration with athletics and, selecting the students who participate. And, so I'm kind of, there's a big part of other duties as assigned to my job, but it's great because I have some creativity, and I work with a great team of people in the Dean of Students office, and the Women's Center actually used to be in Student Affairs. We moved to the Equity and Diversity Unit in 2015, but prior to that, we had always been part of Student Affairs. So in a way, it's kind of like coming home, I guess.
Well, this is very, very sweet.
Yeah.
I apologize for introducing you under the wrong department, because I think I remember seeing Student Affairs, and my brain just remembered it as student involvement, because that's where we are. But Blaine is a very, very nice man. We've had him on the show before.
He is. He's
Uh,
great.
and I like getting to talk to other people from the department because the whole show is about introducing faculty to the space, talking about what we do here, what you do for work, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
We've already gone through the Joe Schmo of it all.
Yeah. I know.
Um,
I'm honored to be here. Thanks for inviting
well,
me.
I'm glad you get to be here with us. Now I wanted to talk about really early on in your career what you were doing before. You initially graduated from the University of Leeds,
Yes.
in Spanish and Portuguese translation studies.
Yep, I did.
Uh, what kind of encouraged that? I don't know if it's like a blunt way to ask that, but I was talking to Wayne about it before the show, and I was saying that I found it curious that it was possible for someone to study the actual study of translating a language as opposed to just learning it.
Yeah, well, so there were all kinds of, different components to my degree program. So um, we studied history, we studied literature, but I minored in linguistics and phonetics,
Mhm.
which is kind of like the study of the structure of language. And then I was also fortunate enough to do an internship with the translation service of the European Commission
Ah.
in Belgium, in Brussels. And they have the biggest translation service in the world. It's huge. They have over 5,000 full-time translators working in many different languages. I think I actually don't know how many working languages they have now, but at the time that I was there, I think it was about 12 or 15. And doing, everything from translating documents into and between all of the different official languages of the European Commission, but then also doing consecutive and simultaneous interpreting for the European Parliament when it was in session. So yeah, I got to do that
Wow.
for 6 months, which was an amazing experience, and then really, helped me to kind of launch my career after graduation. So I worked for 12 years before I came to gender equity work as a freelance translator and language consultant, which was really fun and also kind of lonely because you're in a home office by yourself,
Mhm.
talking with colleagues across the world, through your computer, but not. I didn't do a lot of interpreting
Mhm.
or I did some liaison interpreting, not a lot, mostly for a couple of universities that I worked for, helping students who didn't have a high level of English with kind of acclimating to the US and getting settled in their degree programs. Um, but yeah, that's an incredible skill that I I definitely didn't develop as much as I would have liked. So I did mostly translation work, so translating written documents
Mm.
from Spanish and Portuguese into English. Yeah.
I see. Well, this is very, very interesting. So you did that? Did you do that internship before actually going to university
No,
or
after I did
after?
that after university. Yeah, and
Okay.
that was kind of what helped me to kind of launch my career path.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, then that I guess leads me into my second question that is like kind of the precursor to that in a way. I was asking about like what sparked your curiosity into a language, into linguistics, into translation studies.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like it's such like a kind of niche
Yeah.
field of study and field of work
Yeah.
to want to go into. So I'm kind of curious about what led you into that path.
Yeah. So I grew up multilingual. I was really fortunate to have a mother who is Portuguese and spoke to me Portuguese when I was a child. My father worked for the British Foreign Office,
Mm.
and so he traveled every couple of years to different countries. And so when I was 5 years old, when I started elementary school, essentially, my parents were living in Chile in South America, and I went to a Spanish speaking school. So I was already speaking Portuguese and English, and I added Spanish, and then a little bit later when they left Chile and were posted to Dubai,
Mm.
they
Wow.
uh, they had a Belgian friend, who was teaching French to kids on Saturday mornings in her house, and some of my friends were going and said it was really fun, and So my parents asked, would I like to go? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool. And so I got to learn French as well. And so, um, yeah, so I think, my early childhood and adolescence was multilingual, and that gave me, I think, an entry into curiosity about how language is used for communication and commerce um, and sharing culture and all of those things. And I decided that I wanted to do that. And I also, originally I had wanted to be a vet, but I was really bad at math and science, it turns out. And so I just couldn't really get anywhere with that career path or that sort of aspirations to a career path because I wasn't good at the subjects that I needed to be good at. But I was really good at languages, and so I was like, oh, okay, well maybe I should focus on that.
Yeah, well, it's a skill I already have. I might as well just like do
Yeah,
something with it now,
yeah.
right?
And so yeah, the University of Leeds, and again, I don't know much about the program now because I graduated a really long time ago, like 32 years ago. And so the program may be very different now. But at the time, the University of Leeds was one of the few language programs in the country that offered Portuguese.
Really?
It was not a language that was commonly offered for study at university level in England in the late 80s.
I
And so,
That is so curious. I feel like it'd be somewhat more common just because of like Spain and the country right next to Portugal.
Portugal.
That is literally right
Yeah.
there. I don't the, Obviously it's like right there.
Yeah.
I I mean, I would imagine it is maybe somewhat more common now, just because of the regional population. But
Yeah.
I, as you were kind of talking about, like your interest in the study of how language is used, I guess something I have a brief interest in as well is like how the use of language has evolved over time, and it's not like a something I'm intensely studying, um, which actually leads me to my next question because obviously between your change career paths into your gender work with the university, and now more so into education and administration. Where do your educational interests lie nowadays? Because
Mm.
while you're working at the university for the past 20 years, you did pursue your master's degree, you did pursue your doctorates, um, in different fields in the language studies. I believe your master's was
Yeah.
in adult organizational leadership
Yep.
and learning,
Yeah.
and your doctorate was in philosophy and education.
It was in curriculum and instruction. So
I see.
education with a specialization in curriculum and instruction. Yeah.
I see. And
Yeah.
you were talking to me a little bit before the show about how you claim to be a lifelong learner. Um, so like overall, I'm just kind of curious about how your educational interests have evolved alongside your career work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, my work at the Women's Center heavily influenced the fields that I studied for my master's and doctoral programs. And so I focused heavily on gender equity, on feminist movements, social activist movements. I'm extremely interested in anti racism, particularly in anti racism with a gender spin. So looking at anti racist feminism and activism. I have been a sexuality educator for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, I teach sex ed classes in the community to middle schoolers. And I also was one of the folks who designed a program that we had at the university for a really long time, which was a sexual health education forum called Got Sex. And so I have a very strong interest in inclusive sexuality education, which is something that's really lacking in the state of Idaho, and that we need desperately. And so my contribution to kind of challenging some of that is to teach a very inclusive sex ed curriculum to local middle schoolers.
It's like just
Um,
touching all the
Everything.
bases.
Well, everything. There's so much that is left out of, if you get any kind of sex ed in school, a lot of it pushes a very kind of abstinence only
Yes.
approach. And it completely ignores diverse sexualities and identities. And so The curriculum that I teach is very comprehensive. It's really inclusive. It's really fun to teach. I've learned a ton. The kids that I teach really resonate because this generation is so much more open about their identity and sexuality at a much, much younger age.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, of course, they want to talk about that stuff, right? So, yeah, that's really something that has been a passion project of mine that I find really satisfying and fun to teach. And then when I was in the equity and diversity unit, I was one of the lead diversity and equity trainers. And so I helped to develop and lead a lot of trainings for university colleges and departments on how to make their programs and spaces much more diverse and inclusive. And so that is something that I'm really passionate about also.
That is absolutely beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
for a lack of better words, I'm a big fan of woking it up.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
And
it's been most of my career.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes me so happy to know that there are people in a state like Idaho, for again lack of better words, that are really trying to make sure that the younger generation still has access to that kind of education that is so important to human health, to identity, to all these things that like make a person a person.
Absolutely, I agree. And I mean, the extent to which we can do that work now here at the University of Idaho, obviously because of state legislation and the climate in the state, it's that that work has yeah,
Become a bit more difficult to do, I'm
it's
sure.
become a lot more difficult to do. But I kind of fill that void by doing a lot of that work in my community. And yeah, on my own time, trying to, you know, rabble rouse and cause good kinds of trouble when I can.
Well, it was very, very wonderful to hear. It was wonderful to talk to you today,
Yeah.
Dr. Salsbury. I'm glad that you got to join me on the show.
Me too.
As a parting gift and as a thank you for joining me on the show, we would like to offer you a jersey.
Oh my gosh.
From our program
Thank
admit you
you
as an honorary member of our Vandal Esports program.
I love that. And that's the same one that you're wearing?
Yes.
That is so cool.
One that I'm wearing because I'm preparing to do a broadcast after a class that I have to go to after this. But in the meantime, that's it that I have for the show tonight for the Vandal pre-show. I'm going to be bouncing it over to our casters tonight. Our Rocket League varsity team is going to be playing the University of Kentucky in their semifinal match for the season. They've been making huge waves in that bracket, so I'm excited to see them all the way this far. I'm hoping for goodwill tonight. You are more than welcome to stay and watch the games as you like. Car soccer is pretty easy to consume, thankfully.
Okay.
So,
right.
Yeah, outside of that, I'm glad that you got to join us for today. From the Vandal Analyst Corner, this has been Kaz Phoenix and Dr. Lysa Salsbury signing out for tonight. Enjoy the games and V's up.